Hey, you guys, welcome back. It's Kaosy Umeh here, aka Attorney Noodle. So, welcome back. As I said, we're here today to talk about the difference between a peace order and a protective order. So, I want to start off with a protective order because that's what I mostly do in the family law context. And the reason I want to start off with a protective order is because both peace orders and protective orders are colloquially known as restraining orders. However, not everyone can use a peace order and not everyone can use a protective order. So, as I was saying, let's start off with a protective order. So, the people who are allowed to file a protective order are those who are filing an order against a spouse or an ex-spouse, someone you live with, cohabitate with, someone who's related to you by marriage or by just blood. And by this I mean you can file a protective order against the parents, or you can file a protective order against the child. You can file a protective order against the step parent or stepchild. Let's see. Oh, if you've had a child with somebody in the past, your child's mother or your child's father, you can file a protective order against them. If this is an ex-boyfriend who you had a relationship with within the last year, you can also file a protective order against them. And what else? Oh, and in the case of rape, if you're alleging rape, you can also file a protective order against that person. So that's a protective order. For a peace order, you can file a peace order if the person does not qualify in any of those things I just listed. So if we're talking about a neighbor or a nosy person at your work or even a nosy person at your job, for those people, you would file a peace order instead of a protective order. Okay. So back to protective orders. When can you file a protective order? So the main thing about a protective order is that they're usually used in cases of domestic violence, and they're used when you have a fear of imminent, danger. So you can use a protective order if someone assaults you, if someone threatens to assault you. So if they write a text message saying, "Oh, you better watch your back. When I find you, I'm gonna blase you up." That's enough to get a protective order if this is somebody you're either married to or related to, or had a past relationship with. So that's one. That's one of the reasons you can use a protective order. You can also use a protective order if someone falsely imprisoned you. So I have a client who her spouse locked her in the basement for a few days, and I don't know why I laughed. It's not really funny. In that case, that's the grounds for a protective order. Of course, you can use this in the case of a rape. If someone has raped you and you're either in civil courts for the case or even in criminal court for the case, you can still go to civil courts and request a civil protective order against this person. Another place you can use a protective order is if you have an ex, you broke up, and you had a video you two made together when you were still together, and now they've posted it onto several porn websites, basically revenge porn. That's another reason you can use a protective order. You can also use a protective order if you have someone who's stalking you. So if your spouse is stalking you, if your parents are stalking you, if your children are stalking you, or even if an ex is stalking you, you can bring a protective order against them. The one instance when you cannot bring a protective order is if you're claiming harassment. Harassment is not covered by the protective order statute in Maryland. If someone is harassing you, you have to bring a peace order against them. The problem is when let's say this person is your spouse if this person is your spouse or your parents or your child or someone who you have that familiar relationship with, and they're harassing you. Unfortunately, in Maryland, it's tricky. It depends on what types of harassments they're doing. That will change, or that will depend on what you can file against them. But typically, it's not going to be a protective order, and it's not going to be a peace order. So, in the case of, let's say, this is X, and you have a child with this X, but they keep texting you, emailing you, basically just bothering you and trying to insert themselves back in your lives. You can go to court, and you guys already gone to court and you have a custody order. You can go to court and ask the court to amend your custody order to include in there that they can no longer talk to you except by text and email and only about the child. So that way, if they violate that again, they continue harassing you, you could take them back to court and file for contempt. So it depends on what this person is doing to you that qualifies as harassment. If you have a familiar relationship with this person, you have alternates. Yeah, you have alternate means of remedies, but it's not going to be a protective order and it's not going to be a peace order. So those are basically the basics of the peace order and protective order. Oh, I almost forgot this. So a peace order is only good for 6 months, whereas a protective order is good for 1 year. But with both a peace order and protective order, if the person who has been ordered to stay away from you violates it, you are entitled to go back to court and ask the court to extend that peace order or that protective order for another year or another 6 months because of that violation. As long as you prove that violation, the chances are the courts will more than likely extend it. What else is there? Oh, and one more thing. Both the peace order and both the protective order, these are not criminal charges against you. These are literally civil charges in lieu of well, not in lieu, but these are civil charges. And that's one thing that worries a lot of people. They're civil charges, but everyone seems to think they're criminal charges because they see the word domestic violence in front of them. The one thing I will say is be careful of it because yes, it's not a criminal charge, but one thing that both the peace order and the protective orders always have in them is that they require you to let go of any weapons, any guns you have in your house. You're supposed to turn them into the police within X days of receiving either the peace order or protective order. The only reason I'm bringing this up and I'm cautioning you about it is because I once had this case. My client was he was a security guard and he was required to carry a gun as part of his job. So he came to me after he got a protective order issued against him by the mother of his child. The reason he came to me is because he needed a modification. Because as I just said, once you have a protective order issued against you, you have to surrender all your firearms. And because he was a security guard who's required to carry a firearm, he had to still surrender his firearm because of this protective order. So that meant he lost his job. So now he has a lost job, but he still has to pay child support to the mother of his child. So that was a whole mess in that case. So that's one thing you should also always be careful about. I do think the mother of his child did regret it in the end, filing this protective order against him because it significantly diminished how much he was able to get in child support. Because once my client lost his very good paying job, he had to go find a minimum wage job, and there was really nothing she could do to claim that he purposely he purposely impoverished himself in the child support category. But that's a whole other issue. I will get into purposeful impoverishment in another video if you guys want to see it. But there you go. I just want to give you the simple basics about a peace order, protective order. A peace order you use with strangers, a protective orders you use with family and close, intimate relations. So I hope that really helps you. And again, remember, you cannot obtain a protective order due to harassment, but you can obtain a peace order due to harassment. So those are your basics. If you ever get confused when filing in court, check out this video again. Okay, I hope you guys found that helpful. Let me know at the bottom. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. And also leave a comment below about any topics you'd like me to cover in the future and any comments you have on this video. I'll see you guys later. Ciao.